Nice to see you all out here tonight. I'm Vinny Duffy, and this is my wife, Rosalind. We started the Learning Tree Child Care Center, preschool and child care center, 37 years ago. We've been very successful. And that we opened it to have a high-quality preschool for working families. We've been very successful. I don't mean to brag, but we've been accredited by the National Association for the Education of Young Children. Since they first were accredited back in 1989. I don't know if you're familiar with Early Achievers, but we got a very good rating on the new statewide quality improvement system. We're the kind of program that the city would like to use to have their preschool program in. We also have been working with the City of Seattle Child Care Program for almost 30 years, serving low-income children through a very good program. We love our work, but we're facing a crisis in Seattle when it comes to child care. Parents can't afford the high costs. Teachers can't afford the low pay. Child care in Seattle is among the most expensive in the U.S. Full-time licensed care costs as much as a tuition at University of Washington. Running a child care center is a costly endeavor. Ours is a nonprofit, but it's still very costly. So costly that teachers and directors live at close to poverty wages or below. One of the problems is that state subsidies are so low for low-income families that centers will not be able to afford the $15 an hour wage. Centers will close with the $15 an hour wage. And I don't know what families and employers are going to do. On top of that, training is offered in a very haphazard way. It's often inaccessible and often in a language that the caregivers don't speak. That's our reality. About 38% of caregivers leave the field every year. That's a lot of turnover. It's hard on parents and it's bad for kids. That's why we joined together to collect over 30,000 signatures to put Citizens Initiative 107 on the ballot. We all know that the City Council has proposed a pilot preschool program, and I'm thrilled that the city is taking early education seriously and attempting to find a solution. And I believe that their solution is well-intentioned. I believe it's a good first draft, but I don't believe it's quite ready yet. We need a better plan. The voices of frontline teachers and providers have been ignored, and the opinions of the academics and university researchers, which are a very important part of the equation, they're taken at 100%, but our experience is just discounted. And it's not hurt feelings on that or fear that I'll lose my job, but it's really concern for the children, the families, and the city of Seattle that we get this right. It's an expensive and important program, and I'd like to get it right. Whose idea was it that frontline providers who work more than a full-time schedule on poverty wages would be able to complete a bachelor's degree in just 4 years? Not ours. Whose idea was it that parents and providers' choice would be limited to only 2 city-approved curricula, and that high-quality programs such as Montessori and Reggio Emilio would be unacceptable? Not ours. Whose idea was it that it would take 4 years and $60 million to reach only 2,000 4-year-olds when tens of thousands of teachers, parents, and children in Seattle are facing a profound crisis now? That's why a central part of our initiative, I-107, is a workforce board and professional development institute run jointly by the city and frontline providers. It would give frontline providers a real voice in our profession and allow us to advocate for ourselves and the children and families that we serve. Who knows what's best for the children? Who knows what's happening on the ground better than us? Now, I think there's some fear that frontline providers would lower standards to help themselves some way, but I don't see that. I see the teachers, the aides, the directors as being real voices for quality. We haven't gotten any support for all this time, but we've still tried our best to do quality. Support frontline providers, children, and families by supporting Initiative 107, Proposition 1A. You trust the children with us, so give us a real voice in creating an early learning system in Seattle that works for everyone. Thank you.
I'm Rosalind Duffy. I helped start the Learning Tree with my husband, and in addition, I'm an author of the Positive Discipline book series with over 500,000 copies in print worldwide. The other night I heard a talk with Professor Halverson from the UW, who works on policy-making issues. He has consulted with the city and their plan, but he raised a concern for what are the unintended consequences, and I'd like to go over what I see as 4 significant unintended consequences if the city's plan is used instead of I-107. How will the differing needs and learning styles of children and families be met, and current programs that exist to meet those needs be preserved? The city plan has limited mandated curriculum chosen without input from the city's current ECE community, relying solely on the input of academics and business community, some of whom may conceivably have a financial windfall by having a captive consumer audience who has to buy the materials that the state mandates. I-107 allows for a variety of programs to be included in the delivery system, meeting both children's and families' diverse needs. Number 2, the value of stability in the early years is among the most significant for healthy development. How will trained, experienced, and beloved caregivers be retained? As Vinnie said, they keep leaving the field because of the lack of finances. The city's plan requires those that stay in the field to take on debt with minimal subsidies for training, and only guarantees a living wage for those 6 hours or less that it will provide care. I-107 guarantees a minimum living wage for all early childhood workers, yet takes experience and a variety of trainings into consideration, giving credit to those currently in the field, saving them thousands of dollars in additional educational debt. And it allows workers to meet the new requirements within a time frame that is sustainable. Number 3, where will the city's ECE workforce come from? What will happen to those currently with careers in the field? What happens when the city plan runs out of money, faces budget cuts, or gets dropped entirely? The city plan unravels our current system, replacing it with a threadbare, top-down plan while patronizing the ECE community as though they had no skill or expertise worth having. I-107 includes the early childhood community in all areas of design while preserving current successful programs upon which we all rely. And number 4, what will happen to our city's workforce when its workers have no one left to care for their children, or who have to leave midday to ferry children from Part D child programs, from Part Day city programs to whatever additional care they've been able to scrabble together?
Excuse me, you're almost out of time.
Okay. I need to let her go on, but as you can see, there's lots of unintended consequences.
And so I'll try to wrap up. My name is Karen Strickland. I'm the president of the American Federation of Teachers Washington. I want to wrap up by pointing out some of the groups and individuals that are supporting Initiative 107. And I also want to say that actually these 2 proposals, Initiative 107, also known as Proposition 1A, and the City Hall's plan 1B address different parts of the early learning world. Both have merit. Initiative 107 is more widely supported by Democrats, but both are in line with Democratic values. Basically, what we're asking you to do is to take a position of support on the first question that will be on the ballot. Unfortunately, as hard as we tried, we could not get the two separated so that people would be able to vote on both. So voters have to make a choice. What we want is for this body to support yes on the first question and then take no position on the second question. There's a letter on your table and it's signed by
I'm
a number of
extremely sorry, but
legislators.
I have to cut you off. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Look at the letter. It's supported by Joe Fitzgibbon and Sharon Nelson. Thank you very much.
We will have questions as well, so thank you. Can we also have Prop 1B? Come on up. Thank you.
You're still the timer. Good. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Tim Burgess, the president of the City Council, and I'm honored to be back with you again tonight to talk about the Seattle preschool plan, which was proposed by Mayor Murray and passed unanimously by the Seattle City Council. The preschool plan is designed to impose a property tax levy lift. It will cost the typical Seattle homeowner $43 to $45 a year, and it will allow us to raise over the 4-year introductory pilot phase a total of $58 million. And the plan is designed to get us started on the path to eventually providing high-quality universal preschool in Seattle to all of our 3- and 4-year-olds. This plan was very carefully developed, and it was developed by relying on preschool providers and teachers in Seattle, experts in early learning at the University of Washington and with the Washington State Department of Early Learning, and some national experts on preschool from around the United States. The plan is focused on quality, not necessarily quantity. So in the first 4 years of this plan, we will be serving a relatively small number of children. It grows from 14 preschool classrooms in year 1 to 100 classrooms in year 4. And the reason we're taking this slow, careful approach is we want to make sure we get it right. And I was privileged to go with several of my colleagues from the council and the mayor and about 35 other folks from Seattle, including representatives of the teachers union and teachers in preschool and K-12 teachers back to the East Coast. Early in the year, we did a study mission in Boston, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C. And one thing we learned was be careful that you start slow to make sure you have quality before you rapidly expand. And so the plan that came from the mayor and was unanimously adopted by the council does that. We focus on what's best for the kids. And what we've learned from all of the national evidence and our experience in the study mission, what's important for the kids is that adult-child interaction in the classroom has to be really good. And so we have adopted the standards of Washington State for early learning and the new federal Head Start and early learning preschool standards. Those are all defined in the plan. And what we're doing is we're saying to the classrooms that we will have in the city, if you are a teacher who wants to be involved in this, let's say you have an AA today, but you want to get a BA, we're going to pay you to go to school to get that BA. So when you hear that we're going to somehow make teachers indebted or whatever, totally false. The plan includes tuition support. The plan includes ongoing coaching in the classroom, in these preschool classrooms, where on a weekly basis there are tutors, mentors, coaches in the classroom helping those students. This plan was developed, as I said earlier, with the support and the input of teachers and preschool providers, and that's why this plan is endorsed by the Boys and Girls Club of King County, child care resources, one of the most critical state agencies helping with child care around the state of Washington and in Seattle. The Child Care Directors Association of Greater Seattle, the Community Day School Association, El Centro de la Raza, Neighborhood House, Tabor 100, Save the Children Action Network, the Seattle Human Services Coalition, the Washington State Association of Head Start Providers, and this measure is supported exclusively by the King County Labor Council. There is a wide, broad diversity of people and organizations who are supporting this plan. And the reason they are is the very same reason the mayor proposed it and the city council passed it. For decades now, some of our children have been held behind. There's a whole variety of reasons why that happens, but the academic opportunity gap that exists for children of color, for children living in poverty, for immigrant and refugee children, should shame all of us. And we know what to do. And what the national evidence shows is that kids that go to high-quality preschool are better prepared when they enter kindergarten. They are more likely than their peers who do not go to high-quality preschool to be reading at grade level at 3rd grade. They have higher high school graduation rates, lower teen pregnancy rates, higher rates of entering college and graduating successfully from college. They have better health. They have higher earning power as adults. All of the things that we as Democrats endorse and believe in are what we can deliver to the children of Seattle. So I encourage you tonight to take a strong stand for the kids of Seattle and endorse Proposition 1B. Now, much is said about, too bad we can't vote for both. This was litigated in the Superior Court and in the Washington Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals held that it was mandatory that we put this matter on the ballot the way it was placed. So that's the choice we have, and I encourage the 34th Fighting Democrats to continue to stand strong for your values and endorse high-quality preschool for our kids now, not a further delay. But let's do it now, and we have that opportunity on November 4th. Thank you.
Folks, could you come on up and have a seat at the table, and we'll go ahead and have some questions. And unfortunately, I have to disagree because we are the picking 34.
Yeah.
Well, whoever they are. Okay, thanks very much. I'm not going to presume to ask questions for you, but I would like you to raise your hand. I'd like you to stand. I'd like you to tell us who you are, and then tell us your question as clearly, as loudly as you can. Representative Eileen Cody. I'm sorry. I said just knee-jerk. I can't help it.
My question is on A. There's no funding supplied in A. So how much will you cut into? I mean, you made the comment that there's no promises for the B, but it's one that actually has a funding mechanism. So how would we pay for A? And how would it cut into the city budget?
So thank you for that question. So there are many times when policy is established and then funding follows, and that was the model that we decided to use for this initiative. The estimated cost, an initial cost for implementation is $3 million, which is not a large sum of money. The expectation is that to do this right, of course, it's going to take some money. To do quality care is going to take some money, just as the proposal 1B, proposition 1B does. So that is a decision, and what it would end up costing is a decision that rests with the city council, and they would make decisions about, for example, what kinds of training requirements there would be, what kinds of training opportunities there would be. They would make those decisions based on what they felt was appropriate and desirable, as well as what was feasible. So funding sources would be sought and attained after the policy is passed. And just for example, there are a number of different sources of funding that are already in place, but that are not braided together very well. So one of the plans would be to better use the funding that already exists that is allocated for early learning. The other trend, the other thing that's happening at the federal level is that there are a lot of different sources of funding coming from the federal government, specifically for early learning and care. So those would be funds that would be accessed. The thing is, it will need money, and there are many ways of finding the money that's needed. Part of the issue for us is that the crisis in early learning and care doesn't just affect 3- and 4-year-olds, it affects birth through school age. And so while we see, along with the concerns expressed by my colleagues here, we also see merit to publicly funded preschool. But the fact of the matter is that families are struggling with affordable child care from birth through school age. And if we don't address the whole system, we're not going to have a solution that actually will work.
Thank you. Is there another question? Chris Porter?
Chris Porter. State committee. Councilmember Burgess spoke briefly about a plan in the Quality Seattle Preschool to try to address the achievement gap, particularly amongst African American boys and girls. Councilmember Burgess spoke briefly about the plan to try to address the achievement gap, specifically amongst African American boys and girls. And in your presentation, I didn't hear that, so I'm wondering, what is your plan if you get the funding and how's that going to happen?
Could I just also ask, if you have questions, maybe you can come over here and sort of line up if you're able, please?
This is a really big problem that's happening right now. There is an achievement gap between low-income children and higher income, or middle and higher income children when they enter preschool, and that is I commend Councilman Burgess for addressing that problem. Because they reach kindergarten behind and they never catch up. That's a real big problem. There are solutions. There are solutions for this problem without redesigning the whole entire system. Like I said, we are, my school and many other good preschools work with the City of Seattle Child Care Program, which serves lower income people, not just African American, but just everybody has that issues, and it's rigidly controlled by the city. There's high quality standards, so there's more than one way to get to raising the achievement gap than just this one municipal plan that we have proposed now. Yes.
I'd like to respond as well. City of Boston preschool program, which we've kind of loosely tailored ours after, they have successfully significantly shrunk that academic achievement gap, and with some of their populations totally eliminated it at kindergarten all the way through the 6th grade. So there is an opportunity to do this here. That's why our program is funded. That's why we don't want to delay. We want to get started. The kids deserve this now, not at some future date, when the issues that my friends here have raised are very legitimate issues and need to be addressed. The problem is the city's program is aimed at 3- and 4-year-olds in preschool. Their program, which has no funding, tries to address the entire gamut from birth to age 12. And this is all additive. None of the city's existing child care programs or preschool programs are affected at all by this. This is new money, it's additive, it's to begin the process to get toward universal preschool, which we know works for our kids. So let's not delay, let's get moving right now.
Okay, thank you. No, I think we would ask and answer that question. Alan, if you want to have come on up over here and use the microphone, it would be easier for folks. And so please, would you come up and introduce yourself?
I'm that old, what's her name in the back? Thanks, Max. PCO, education activist, former chair of the 11th District, state committee woman for all of y'all in this district as well. I have so very many questions. One, McCleary isn't funded. Two, K through 12, we got no room for our kids in this city as it stands, and yet we don't know, and we didn't know until this week, because the city chose not to speak to the school district about this plan. What's going on, and why is it so important to do this all behind the curtain and not transparency? Who is funding this? Is Matt Griffin put in $25,000 plus some of his fancy friends, same people that I know supported charter schools? Issue very close to my heart. Started 2 child care centers, paid through the nose for quality child care for my own child at Mount St. Vincent's Early Generational Learning Center, and they gave her a hell of a start that is paying off now as a senior in high school, and thank God for them. The devil's in the details. It won't affect current child care. Sorry, cynical me, I don't buy it. The other issue that keeps coming to the fore, and I've seen the information, and I didn't print it out tonight, and I should have, is that we're creating an enormous bureaucracy here with a ratio of 1 administrator to every 50 little ones at a pretty significant price. I would die for that kind of a ratio in K through 12 in the Seattle Public Schools. I wish that you all would get together, come back to us next year, and address these issues and make it work, because it's absolutely necessary. But the devil's in the details. You said that all of this information is for 14 classrooms in the first year. You want a question? Help me out with the transparency and the cost and the failure of you 2 good, well-meaning people that want the same things. Why have you not come up with one proposal? That's my question. Good question.
Thank you. So,
We have 3 minutes and 35 seconds left.
there was a lot in there. I'll try to cover it as best I can. So in terms of transparency, this has been a very public process by the City Council and the Mayor in planning this. Been working on it for almost 2 years. The school district was involved from the very beginning. They were on our study mission back east. They had representatives of the school district's early learning office in our planning, on our work groups. I came here from briefing the school district yet again on this program. So I think the school district is a very important strategic partner. Now, the program is voluntary. It's voluntary for providers. It's voluntary for parents. So if the school district, because of their capacity problems, doesn't want to have Seattle preschool plan classrooms in their buildings, they don't have to. In the first year, as I said, 14 classrooms. Those will primarily be with community-based organizations like some of the ones that I've mentioned here tonight. So I don't think there's a problem with transparency. We've had multiple public hearings, multiple committee meetings, lots of people involved in the process. I forget what the other part of it.
How come you 2 haven't done it yet?
Our dear friends here were also on the study mission and have been involved in the work groups that have worked on this program. I've been with all 3 of these individuals multiple times over the last year and a half. We had extensive negotiations with AFT and SEIU, both the council and them and the mayor and these groups. We agreed on most of the points. There was one significant point that we could not agree on, and they chose to go ahead with their ballot measure. Their ballot measure is not funded, and all it will do is delay the delivery of high-quality preschool to kids in Seattle. And we should not allow that to happen.
Thank you. We've got 2 more minutes. I'll allow you to reply to that. Would you like to?
I would like to echo, we did actually work very hard to try to come together. And our proposal would also provide benefit right away. It would provide greater benefit. We would be able to address a broader range of children. Theirs addresses a very small range of children, and we were trying to find some in between on that, and could not come to an agreement.
Could we perhaps have time for one more question here?
So, Councilmember Burgess, this is for you. I was in that King County Labor Council vote. The delegates voted for 701. It was a roll call vote. It was voted down by members who were not in the room. And my question to you is, a lot of people felt like the city council has been coercing people by threatening, general funds money to go into their projects coming because 701 doesn't have a funding plan in place.
107.
107, that's, excuse me, dyslexic, sorry. And so my question is, do you feel like your position is based more on facts or scaring people?
Whoa.
I'm not even gonna bother.
So I'm Alan Monroe. I think I'm a precinct committeeman in this organization, but I've had trouble getting my name on the ballot the last couple of years. Yankee catcher Yogi Berra once said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. And I am reading the ballot language for question number 1. Should either or neither of these measures be enacted into law? And my question is, how can you give a yes, a meaningful yes, or a meaningful no answer to an either or question? And I really am confused. If this is going to be a mess, because we're not going to know how to vote.
So there's the first, by the way, this ballot title structure is set by state statute. We had no choice about that. So the first question is, there's these 2 measures on the ballot that deal with early learning and childcare, a little brief description of each. Should either one of these be adopted into the law, yes or no? And then the next question is, regardless of how you just voted, which one should it be, 1A or 1B? Admittedly, it's not the smoothest, nicest ballot structure, but that's what the state statute requires.
I'd like to respond to that briefly too. In fact, it could have been set up differently, but it wasn't. And so basically what we're asking for, because we understand that people see merit in both of these initiatives, or in the citizen initiative and the city hall proposal, what we're asking for is a position of yes to the initial vote, should one of these be passed. And we're asking this body to take no position on which one, because of the fact that they both have merit, they both are in line with democratic values. There are many questions, and we think that what's much more important than divisive politics and all of the other things that go on is a clear message at the ballot that kids matter, and these are proposals driven by groups that care about kids and want the best for all of our kids. I call on you, but I don't know if I have that authority.
Please, Councilmember
I'm Joe McDermott. My question in response to that is, if your suggestion or your request is the organization not take a position, do you recommend that individuals vote for 1A? And if so, why not, why should an organization be silenced from suggesting to the people in our precincts that we go talk to when we doorbell about what position to take? That's our role as PCOs and as a democratic organization, I would suggest.
I would suggest, I understand that.
Or is the suggestion not to vote on the second question, at the ballot, not today.
No, what we're focusing on right now is the district, the 34th District Democrats. And again, we think that a message to the community that is, that supports children is that these are both good proposals, and these are really important needs that children have. It is very confusing. It's set up in such a way that is like, I mean, the chances that either one will pass are challenged because of how it's set up on the ballot. And so we're asking that people support early learning in general, the first question, and leave it to individuals to make up their minds on the second question.
We have 1 more minute.
And I want to be known as a Democrat that says the children of Seattle who are behind, who are going to enter kindergarten next fall and are already behind, deserve to have high-quality preschool provided to them. Free for families up to 300% of the federal poverty level. For a family of 4, that's an annual income of about $71,000 a year, and a sliding scale for everybody else above that. This is a great plan, and there already is unity. Your city government is unified. The mayor and the city council unanimously advanced this program. I read you the list of endorsers, including the King County Labor Council that endorsed the city's plan. And all of these provider organizations that we all respect and greatly admire, they are part of this coalition to begin to address the needs of our children. The voters of the 34th District look to you for counsel. How should I vote on this matter? And the way they're going to sort through the complexity of all of this is if you help them along so that they can make that decision. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And I'm going to allow this lady here to say one more thing, and then can I give you like 30 seconds? Okay.
You know, I just want to say, what we've tried to say, all of us, is we all want the best for children. We really do. But I think the plan, as the city's proposing it, is like saying, let's make an apple pie, and we've got a whole bunch of cookbooks and all kinds of equipment, but we're not getting any apples. You know, we have to do this right, and that's what we really want to happen, because if we do it wrong, we'll dismantle what we have that's working, and we can't afford that. Your kids can't, your families can't.
Okay, thank you all very much for being here tonight. We really, really super appreciate it.